I'm Bea.
And I'm Sam.
And we're two best friends who like to talk shit about smut, wingspan,
And sometimes books.
And welcome to our Author Spotlight, where twice a month we like to sit down to talk about our favourite books.
Completely spoiler free and the perfect way to top up the TBR.
Okay, we're back with another Author Spotlight.
Wow, straight in. We are back.
I'm excited for this one. I'm excited to hear about it.
Happy December.
Oh, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
We're in the Christmas season.
We are. And I know it's only November, but I'm fully committed to Christmas.
I don't know. I get a bit
You haven't
burnt
been
out
well.
with it now. I haven't been well. Do you know what? And not to sound like a grumpy old grump, but when you have children, it makes it more stressful. As in, like, it used to be there was no pressure on it, so it didn't matter if it was like good or not good, because what does it matter? But now it's like, I have a million things I have to think about, you know?
Does she have her own tree, or does she just destroy yours?
She, well, a bit of both. She has like a felt tree that hangs from the wall, and it has like Velcro. Yeah, like one of those. So no, she doesn't have her own tree, and I'm reluctant to give her one because she has no self-control.
Yeah, but at least then you could say, like, this is Mummy's tree, you don't take the baubles off this one, you don't touch this one, but this is your tree, and do what you like to her. And just buy loads of, like, cheap baubles and, like, you know,
well,
shop.
That's kind of what I do with the felt one, you know, like the fact she can pull all the things off and stick them back on, like it's sort of her thing.
Fair.
Yeah, I don't get an aesthetically pleasing tree with a child.
Yeah, to be fair, my first Christmas with the dog, I know I'm not comparing your child to a dog, but my first Christmas with Simba, like, the bottom half of the tree was just empty. It was like top heavy because he was just pulling everything off, and I just kept moving them higher and higher.
The dogs are worse with the tree than she is.
Yeah.
So.
And we tried to buy like a surrounded to like a gate type thing, and he just jumped over it.
Yeah.
I was like, cool.
Never mind. December's Author Spotlight is mine, obviously, because it's the beginning of the month, so it's mine. So my book was called, now the reason why I'm just going to search for it is because I like to put these and ands into titles where they're not. So I'm just going to make sure that I am calling this the correct title. So this book is called Blood of the Sands, and it is by S.C. Grayson. It's the Ballan Desert Book 1, so it's the part of a series. It's the first book. TBC on how many books this is going to be. Obviously, certainly 2 at least, because this definitely ends on a cliffhanger. But I don't think that this has just come out. This literally only got released in September. So, you know, we certainly know there's going to be a second book, but we don't know how many this is intended to be. So I will read you the blurb. Kira is used to protecting herself from dangers of the Ballan Desert. Guarding her heart may be the most difficult challenge of all. Kira is an exile struggling to survive, forced to rob passing travellers or face starvation. When she steals from the wrong man, a vicious mass warrior named the Viper, his hand around her throat awakens an ancient magic within her, and she uses it to escape his clutches. Now Kira must master her power to protect the city of Kelvedon, the only place an exile like her can find a home from the Viper and his growing army. The Viper serves the magic of the desert, but the sins of the past threaten to destroy it. To protect his home, he will do everything it takes, even marching on the great city of Kelvedon. However, the real key to healing the desert's magic might lie in the infuriating but intriguing exile who slipped through his fingers and now fights for his sworn enemies. Kira and the Viper are on opposite sides of a war to save the Ballan Desert, but the strange bond they share could be the key to saving their home, or destroying their world as they know it. Ironically, well, not ironically, but coincidentally, the sort of tagline for this book is Blood of the Sands is a slow burn enemies to lovers fantasy romance, perfect for fans for Carissa Broadbent and L.J. Andrews.
Sign us up, that's us.
Exactly. So I'm just going to quickly read S.C. Grayson's blurb. So S.C. Grayson has been reading fantasy novels since she was a little girl. and that has developed into a love of writing and storytelling. She is currently focused on fantasy and paranormal romance. She has written several Gaslamp fairy tale retellings and looks forward to publishing additional epic fantasy, paranormal, and science fiction romances. When she's not in a local coffee shop writing and consuming iced Americano, Grayson is a nurse researcher, focused her efforts on breast cancer genetics. She lives in Maryland with her loving husband and their 2 cats, who enjoy contributing to her work by walking across her keyboards at inappropriate moments. The cats, not the husband.
I love that as an author bio. Oh my
So
God, she's a
cute.
woman in STEM.
Yes. So Essie Grayson has some books. Like, let me tell you, that lady turns them out. And from what I read on her Instagram recently, I think in September or around that time, she released 3 titles, so 3 separate books. I know. So, or she was certainly writing 3 at one time. Snaps. So at the moment, she currently has 6 available on Kindle, like available to read. Obviously, Blood of the Sands is one. She also has like a sci-fi series called Tempted by Celestial Bodies. She has a Beauty and the Blade series, which I think from the covers and the blurbs, they, like she said, they're kind of like fairy tale retellings. But this is currently, don't know if it's necessarily her first romantasy that she's written, but it's the first one she has like available currently. So this book is a wild one because it is not what I expected it in the best way.
Okay.
You start straight away, you get dual POV from the get-go. So like it said, Kira is our FMC, but the MMC, the Viper, is actually the person you get the first chapter from. And the whole way through this book, it's equal POVs. So the Viper, Kira, the whole way through. Doesn't lean towards one more than it does the other.
Okay.
Like it said, it starts with the Viper is not, so you have the desert and you have a city. There are other like cities spoken about in this world, but for the most part, the desert is fucking huge, the Ballan Desert. And then Kelvedon, I really hope I'm saying that correctly, is like the major closest city that sits at like the foot of these mountains at sort of like the mouth of the desert. Within the Ballan Desert, you have 9 different clans, and they effectively operate as their own mini kingdoms. The clans move around, so I don't think, from the way they give the vibe, they're not like static to one location in a village. They're like a moving city, I guess, but they're huge, and all of them vary in sizes. But basically, when you meet the Viper, he's not actually the leader of a clan. He's serving as like the blade of a leader of a clan. And again, it doesn't go too much into size of clans, but from what you can gather, the clan that he serves is pretty much the biggest clan that there is.
Fair.
He, without giving too much away, like we said, is just the blade for this clan. And all these clans are horse people, as in everyone rides a horse. Everyone, like, your horse is sacred. That is your, like, that is how you survive in the desert. Like, you do not survive in the desert if you don't have a horse. Their horses are, like, personalities, like they're very connected to their horses. He does a lot of to and fro in for the clan leader that he serves. During one of his like little expeditions on his way back, he obviously stops and camps because the traveling is like days and days at a time. He also, it says in the blurb, but he wears a metal mask, which is a bit fucking weird, right? It's hot. No, I agree. It's hot.
Sorry for listeners. I was making like a ooh face.
Ooh. And it's super hot, right? But also like it's just a bit like, it must be fucking boiling, mate. Like you must be.
Oh my God, yeah.
Hot.
It would be getting heated by the sun, surely.
Yeah.
Ouch.
So he doesn't ever imply that he's uncomfortable underneath it, but like it is a bit like weird. So one night he's camping with his horse on his way back to the lord that he's serving of one of the tribes, and Kira, who is our FMC, at this point we don't really know like why she's in the situation that she's in, but she tries to rob from him, she tries to steal from him. He obviously catches her. Now at this point, when he catches her in the middle of the night, he's taken his mask off to sleep, which throughout the book, again, this is not a spoiler, he does not do that frequently. So it is a real rarity that she caught him without his mask on, and she sees his face and she describes him as being really handsome. So there's not like a physical reason that he's covering his face. And he should really kill her there and then, right? But he doesn't. He takes her back to the Lord that he's serving, and that kind of like kickstarts this story. You get a little bit of information about Kira and her background, and you get this quite early on, is that the reason why she is just out in the desert on her own is that she was exiled from a tribe. So she was a part of a different tribe than he's currently serving, but she was exiled. Now, a lot of people talk about, there's like a lot of mention of exile. And when you get exiled, you get your horse taken from you. So like your horse is like your stamp of like, not authority, but like that's, if you don't have a horse, you're basically dead. That's how they see it. Like you're just going to die if you don't have a horse in the desert. She gets her horse taken from her, and most people are like, oh, you're lucky if you live like a year in the desert without a horse. She's been alive for 10 years with no horse.
Oh, she's a badass.
So she's obviously, and she says it's purely just by being like scrappy. Like she's just kept it going by like barely anything. She's like skin and bones, but she's kept herself alive. Her goal has always been trying to get to Kelvedon. Again, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, which is the big city. And it says like Kelvedon is not a part of any of the tribes, and its policy is that it welcomes anyone. So the tribes are very like, we don't fuck with other people. Like, don't come near our tribe. Like, we don't mix. Like, it's just us, like our clan. But Kelvedon is like a big melting pot. So basically it's where like exiles go to get a life. And that's where the queen lives. So the queen lives in Kelvedon. She gets obviously captured by the Viper, taken back to his lord, and she escapes, steals a horse, and gets the fuck out of there. And
she
finally,
sounds class.
She's class. And finally manages, because she's on horseback now, to get to Kelvedon. So again, without doing too much of the plot, you kind of just start to think that like, right, well, he's on this side, and the clans are having a time. So the lord that he is serving is trying to make all the clans bend the knee to him. But this Viper is a bit of like he kind of like sits on the fence with how he feels, but all he says is, I serve the Lord at the end of the day. Whether what he's doing is right or wrong, I serve him. This lord is trying to get all the clans to bow the knee to him. And some have. So on their side, they have maybe like 5 clans, but the other 4 are like not interested. And the Lord says, you need to go get all the other clans to bend the knee to me, because I want to unite the desert, and we're gonna attack Kelvedon, the city. Also in this, you have magic. Now there's very, very, very few characters that have magic, but pretty much the only 2 characters that do, this is no spoilers, is the Viper and Kira. That's it. Ooh. I can't really go too much into more about the magic because it kind of is a bit of a spoiler. Okay. But basically then, kind of the main start then is you've got Kira in Kelvedon, and she's now basically trips and falls by accident and meets the head of like the Kelvedon guard, and basically becomes a warrior for Kelvedon effectively, starts training with the guard, and keeps her horse. And then you have the Viper, who's like trying to unite all these clans. Sure, go ahead.
Does he ever get a name, or is he the Viper for the whole book? Or is that a spoiler?
I can't answer that question.
Fair. Okay.
Sorry. Pretty much up until like I'd say 40 to 50% through this book, you kind of just think it's going to be like this enemies to lovers. Well, he's on this side and she's on this side. Or not even necessarily enemies to lovers, but like that's the premise. But then it wham bams you 50% of the way through with trials, which I did not see come in. So it actually is like a trial setup. And basically Kelvedon decides to host these trials that they've not done in a really long time. Can't go into why, but just they do. And they all vary in different things. They're a lot like the ones like Serpent and the Wings of Night, where, you know, they're kind of like random. There's some structure, but not too much. And basically you have Kira competing for Kelvedon, the city, and you have the Viper competing as well. So they're basically competing against each other in these trials. That I can't really, from there I can't, but that's what 50% of the way through, and from there I can't really say too much because it's too much of a spoiler, but it's wild.
Colour me intrigued.
Colour me intrigued.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I just didn't I thought I had this book sussed. I was a good like 30-40% of the way in. That's a big chunk to be in, where you kind of feel like, okay, I get the basic premise of this. And then it just like does a bit of a 180 on you with the trials. And then actually, I kind of thought, okay, well, 50% on with trials, that's what we're doing. But actually, no, like, again, I'd say this, the end third, the third is not trials. The trials finish, I wouldn't say super quick, but like relatively quickly, if you know what I mean. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, I'm very interested.
It is.
Anything else you want to talk about before we get into questions?
I feel like I can't say any more without spoiling. Like,
this is the only problem with these author spotlights is like when we do them, I want to be like, oh my god, but we're trying to be as spoiler free as possible, so I've got to sit there with my mouth zipped up.
I know, that's the thing with this. Like, I can't say too much because it's too much of a spoiler.
Yeah. Okay. Question 1: what was your favorite part of the book?
There's like a scene where, so again, it's not a spoiler, but obviously like they're so yearning burning for each other, right? Like there's so much yearning burning.
Yeah.
And at one point they find themselves, just the two of them, and they're out traveling and she needs to wash in like a lake or like an oasis. We love those scenes, right? And he's trying not to look, but he's like hot, right? And I thought, oh, this is where we get a bang. He's going to jump in and they're going to bang, right? Like, I know how this is going to go. Do you know what he does? He like runs away, hides behind like a boulder and cracks one out at the thought of her in the lake.
You are lying.
Just like like he's hiding. She can't see him. She doesn't know what he's doing. He just says, oh, I'm going to like, he says like, I'm going to go do something. Like he just says, I'm going to like whatever. And she's like, okay, I'm just washing. Fine. You do you. And he like goes and he cracks one out. Hot.
Hot. Did you race to the end or was it more of a slow burn?
I'd say this is definitely a slow burn. I don't mean that in like a negative way, but it's a very much like, I feel, a book of 3 parts. So I think we talked about this earlier. A lot of the author spotlights just so happen the way they fall and the way we've arranged them. They've all been quite like quick reads, if you know what I mean. Like we've had some standalones. They've been very like quick reads. I would say this is much more, even though it's book 1, it's much more of like an arc, if you know what I mean, like an experience. So I will say this wasn't a quick read for me, but again, not in like a negative way. It's just like you have like a middle, like a first section, and then you have like the trials, and then you have like this whole end section, and it still ends on a cliffhanger. So yeah, I definitely think this was much more of a slower, like enjoy the process sort of read, I guess.
Which scene has stuck with you the most?
I mean, I mentioned the boulder wank. Also, not just one scene, but scenes, a collection of scenes, is that the 2 main characters the whole way through the book have like dreams about each other. They like fall into each other's dreams every night, but they're like interactive and they can touch and feel. And yeah, as you can imagine, like
hot.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want to read another book by this author?
Yes, 100%. They the way they write is, again, I feel like we say this all the time, like they write so readable, because of course it's readable, it's a fucking book, but like, does that make sense? Like it's so like, it's an easy read. Like there's no, I was not looking at words like, what the fuck does that mean? You know?
Yeah. No, yeah. Will you read the rest of the series, do you think?
Yes, 100%. I will, 100%. Cool. It ends on such a cliffhanger that I can't not know what's going to happen. Like I need to.
Fair. What surprised you most about the book?
That it's like, I feel like 3 books in one, almost. Like I just didn't expect it to. And then when you kind of get 50% way through and you're like, oh, we're in a trial setup now. It's like, okay. But that's actually not like from the middle to the end. It goes another way again. And I was like, whoa. Like I didn't expect also like the lore and the kind of magic system to be so intertwined, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know. Again, try not to spoil too much, but like, you meet some characters in the beginning and you just think they're like figurative characters, but then actually by the end, their history and backstory is way more integral to the plot.
How interesting. How did your opinion of the book change as you read it?
I feel like I'm repeating myself, but the same, like I didn't expect it to be like a trial setup. And then even though it is, the ending goes off on like another direction, and it's Yeah, I just didn't see it coming. It's a good one.
How does the book's title work in relation to the book's contents?
I can't read, apart from the fact that it's sands and obviously set in the desert, I can't really say without spoiling.
That is fine. As long as we know it ties in and it's not just a random title plucked out of thin air.
No, 100% ties in.
Last question. Did this book remind you of any other books?
100% I get Serpent and the Wings of Night vibes. Like, we're taking that vampire context out of it. But what I will say is it felt like with Serpent, the trials is like, that's the whole vibe. It's like the whole arc of the story is like trials. Whereas you don't get that from the beginning. Like, unless you've listened to this, I didn't know that going in, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it definitely gives Serpent vibes. And it gave me a little bit of like inadequate. No, not inadequate ear. What's the Traitor Queen in the Bridge Kingdom series? It definitely gave me some of that because of like the setting is very similar. I feel like, yeah, those two definitely.
Love that. I'm excited to read this. And I say that at the end of every author spotlight. I'm like, oh, I'm excited to read this. But I'm not just saying it to like pretend. Like, I am genuinely excited to read these books.
Honestly, it's such an enjoyable read. I feel like I also didn't mention this at the beginning, but it's also another Kindle Unlimited read.
Mm-hmm.
And the hardcover is $22.99 and the paperback is £13.70. SC Grayson did post on their Instagram the other day that there was like a really bougie sprayed edge version that came out, but I think it was a limited run.
Okay.
What I also will say, for those of you who are listening in the US, because we know there's quite a lot of you here, this is available in paperback and hardcover. Amazon, obviously, I just said, but also Barnes & Noble, Waterstones for us guys over here over the pond, B Bookshop, which I'm not sure if that is a US thing. I think it might be. Apologies if it's not. And also BAM Books or BAM Books A Million, which I know you guys in the US, that's like kind of your equivalent of what the works over here. And also Blackwell's. Well, that looks like it's the UK as well. I've never heard of that. Have you?
I've never heard of that.
Oh, it's a Waterstones bookseller. I'd never heard of that.
Okay,
but they are available in a lot of places. So for anyone listening in the US, guys, the UK, you don't have to just get this off Amazon. So if you're out and about in Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, go grab a copy of this. And also the cover, we say this all the time, but like, the cover's so nice.
Yeah.
It's such a nice cover. SC Grayson does have an Etsy store where they sell a lot of their fan art as well. So definitely go check it out on their Instagram.
Stunning. Anything else to add about this book before we finish?
I don't think so. Oh, and like, I kind of feel like I gave it away talking about my favorite scenes, but like, there is spice in this. I wouldn't say it's like loads and loads super hot, but like, there's definitely spice. It's not YA or lacking of spice at all.
Smut.
I think that's another author spotlight checked off the list, isn't it?
Yeah, well, happy December, everybody. I hope you all have happy holidays, whatever you celebrate, however you celebrate. We hope that you enjoy.
And this week's main channel that's coming out on Wednesday is Metal Slinger. Woo!
If you haven't already read Metal Slinger, we do have an author spotlight on it if you want to see if it would be your kind of thing. It was an author spotlight book that we both ate up and ran to do a main channel episode, so
yes, would highly recommend, if I do say so ourselves. Lovely.
Done?
We are
lovely.